Yes,
Oceania.
and I'm super excited about this. We get to feature a player from Japan, as well as a hometown hero, a player here from Australia. Shuto Itagaki from Japan on the left, and Christian Hasbani on the right. And I can't wait to get into this match. We got an interesting one here. Shuto Itagaki is playing the Hisuian Gudra V-Star. I know that's a deck you're a fan of seeing play out.
Absolutely.
And Christian Hasbani's got an interesting choice for this event, a deck that tends to fly under the radar, though it is very strong. He is on the Vikavolt deck.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised by that. You know, there's kind of been a common trend between our Australians. Sometimes they just go with the best deck in format, but Christian's going with Vikavolt here, and I'm excited to watch this, especially the Gudra versus Vikavolt. This should be very interesting. Looking at those prize cards, did you see anything in there, Chip? I don't think there was anything too wild in
nothing
those.
Too bad. Itagaki prized a Roxanne, but does play 2 copies of the card, so nothing too terrible.
Right.
A couple of quick balls in the prizes for Christian is a little questionable. He's actually not playing Battle VIP Pass, which is a card we normally expect to see in the Vikavolt deck. He's not playing it, and with 2 quick balls prized, it might be a little difficult for him to find his Pokemon.
But here we go. The players are ready. We're kicking off this match. I'm excited here, Chip.
Yes, can't wait. We're getting things underway, and it does look like Christian is going first.
Yeah, that's another great thing that we get to see in these international championships as well. We get to see all the rounds. So starting here in round 1, you get to see it from the very beginning here. Of course, Christian starting off with that Aerodactyl V. So I feel like this is a bit of a contentious card for the Vikavolt deck. I think some people were cutting it, some people were keeping it. What do you think about that inclusion, Chip?
Yeah, it's really strong. I do like the option of Path to the Peak that we see sometimes from these lists. There was a player who got top 32 in Liverpool who was playing Path to the Peak as opposed to the Aerodactyl. The problem is you can't find the Path to the Peak as efficiently as you can find Aerodactyl since it's searchable via Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, all of those things.
All right, so we're just getting into this turn 1 here on Christian's side. Of course, for both players, we're just going to want to see as good of a setup as possible in any game of Pokemon if that's what you want to see. And so far, Christian is getting through this deck. We saw the Trekking Shoes, the Quick Ball, the discard, that Scoop Up Net, and go straight for that Radiant Greninja, which is also going to help for some draw support down the line.
Radiant Greninja is incredibly important, and it's excellent when you get a Water Energy in the discard pile. This deck really relies on the Melanie supporter card in order to bring an energy card back, get you that extra energy into play. Something interesting I do want to point out, though, Itagaki has started Lumineon. Christian started the Aerodactyl.
Yeah.
It's pretty reasonable for him to assume that Itagaki is playing Lugia V-Star. It's the most popular deck. That deck plays to Lumineon.
True.
So I think that's why we saw Christian go for the Fighting Energy, get it onto the Aerodactyl. But now with the Battle VIP Pass being played, Christian is going to have to sit back, think, and question, oh, okay, maybe Aerodactyl is not the best, because I don't think that Ancient Star V-Star power is incredibly strong in the Gudra matchup. It can shut off access to that Moisture Star V-Star power. That's a little bit of a niche scenario, though. You may rather go in with the Vikavolt on turn 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're in that scenario, though, you kind of have to just prepare, I suppose, the best that you can. And, of course, starting Aerodactyl V, if that's your only choice, you just got to go with what the cards gave you, I suppose. But we're over on Shuto's side now, and we have already 2 Comfey being put down on the bench there, and 1 jumping into the active already, popping off with these flower selectings.
Yes, using those flower selectings. An interesting choice here. Battle VIP Pass, a card you love to see on turn 1, but you've already got a couple basic Pokemon in play. Sometimes we'll see players lose it after, using 1 on turn 1, but Itagaki wants to continue to set up here and definitely wants to get out a Hisuian Gudra V at some point this turn.
Yeah, definitely. You want to establish that pretty much as soon as possible with this deck because, you do have to get into the evolution and, of course, get those energies on there as well. But I just love this iteration. As you were saying, Chip, I kind of like seeing this deck because we saw Hisuian Gudra being played so differently in past regionals, and now seeing this iteration, it's just like, oh, it makes so much sense. It's so smooth.
Absolutely.
With the Lost Zone engine. It makes so much sense. So here we go. Stacking up those cards in the Lost Zone here on Shuto's side. That's now the second flower selecting. Of course, we did see the Scoop Up Net to take that other Comfey out of the active position and just go straight into another one. And that's really what we're going to be seeing with this deck. Grinding through, we're going to see that concealed cards off the Radiant Greninja, discarding that energy to draw 2 more cards. And then here we go, the Colress. That's what you want to see with this deck as well, or really any Lost Zone deck.
Absolutely, an excellent draw off of the concealed cards. This is the bread and butter of this Gudra deck. Get those cards into the Lost Zone. The main number you're trying to get to is that 7 mark so that you can utilize Mirage Gate at some point. Now, this Colress will get Itagaki up to 4 cards, meaning that a Cramorant could be an option this turn. Does only play 1 copy of the card, though, so he's going to have to find it. Did ditch a Capture Energy off the concealed card, so that may tell me that Itagaki has maybe correctly identified that Cramorant's not the strongest attacker in this spot. Getting the little bit of damage on the Aerodactyl is not the biggest of deals.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, I mean, this is such a strong start from what it seems like so far here, because I think this is our 3rd flower selecting that we just saw happen, and then of course that energy coming down as well onto the active position too, and another Gudra on the field.
Setting up another Gudra, shutting off any plays potentially from Christian to go cross switcher, knock out your 1 Gudra with that Aerodactyl V-Star. That would be a lot for Christian to get. He'd need another energy, a Melanie, and double cross switcher, but this deck that Christian is playing can absolutely pop off, but chaining some Mews together, Crobat, all of those things.
Yeah, definitely. The Vikavolt, it just relies on so many various attackers and strategies to kind of jump into. But you have to be able to adapt to it, and that's what I'm really interested to see. Now that Christian knows, okay, I'm playing against Hisuian Gudra, how am I going to respond to this amazing turn 1 that I just saw from Itagaki? So we are going to see that now. Let's see what Christian can do with this turn, starting off with the Training Court, retrieving that water back out of the discard pile, off of it, and then just discarding it straight away to that concealed cards for some draw.
Christian's hand is looking kind of weak. He was able to find an Ultra Ball off of that Radiant Greninja, so now he may be able to find out a Vikavolt, get an energy attachment to it through that Speed Lightning energy in order to draw some cards. Before he does that, though, he'll wisely thin out a Lightning energy with this Energy Search, and I expect to see a Mysterious Tail potentially incoming as well, it looks like, before that Vikavolt comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that quick switch out of that Aerodactyl V for sure. I mean, Mysterious Tail is just one of those abilities that fits so well into this deck as well, just to get you that extra draw support. As we saw here, Christian grabbing that Escape Rope off of the Mysterious Tail. I didn't see the other options, but and then just going straight into an Ultra Ball as well. Ooh, I see a Sky Seal Stone there, Chip. Discarding that and a Lightning Energy.
Yeah, Sky Seal Stone is an interesting one because you have to choose to play it over Forest Seal Stone, which is a big boost to your consistency generally. But if you can ever get off that attack with the Sky Seal Stone, take that extra prize card onto a V-Star or V-Max Pokemon, it can just be a game-winning play. Christian doesn't have that option here. He's going for the Speed Lightning, really needs to find a Melanie, and he does hit it off of that second card. And with the Escape Rope, he was able to take off of the Mew. We will see a Paralyzing Bolt this turn.
There we go. That is how you want this deck to be working for sure, and that's why the synergy with the Radiant Greninja and the Training Court as well, and of course that last piece you needed, Melanie, to be able to take that water energy out of the discard, attach it onto the Vikavolt V, and that's how we're going to see this attack pop off.
I think the one thing Christian was missing here was that Zapdos. With its Lightning Symbol ability, it allows you to boost the damage of your Paralyzing Bolt by 10.
Yeah, that's always
and
a
I think
plus.
he's digging for it. Yeah, he's digging for it here because of how strong it is to lock up a Comfey, and he's able to find the Quick Ball to get the Zapdos out. That is absolutely massive. He'll deal 60 damage to this Comfey. It'll be locked up for a turn, and he's already got that Galarian Zigzagoon in hand with the Headbutt Tantrum to take a prize on his next turn. Excellent, excellent play from Christian.
Wow, the cards just fell into place. We saw the Melanie hit at the right time. We saw the Quick Ball hit at the right time. Christian is having a good time on that turn too. So let's throw it back over to Shuto to see how the response is going to play out here. I mean, it's nice to see though, Chip. You know, prize cards aren't too bad. Good play on both sides.
Yes.
I love games like this.
Absolutely. This will get Itagaki up to that over 7 cards in the Lost Zone, but the problem is, thanks to Paralyzing Bolt, is no longer going to be able to play item cards, and we see Mirage Gate hitting the Lost Zone, and it's going to be 3 turns potentially before Itagaki can manually power up a Hisuian Gudra V-Star.
Yeah, and that is definitely not what you want to see. I know, I don't even think I mentioned that. The Vikavolt V locking those item cards is huge against this, because as we were talking about so much before, and as we just saw drawn to the hand there as well, that Mirage Gate is so important for this deck, and to have to manually go through attaching is going to be a little bit tough, but we do see the Temple of Sinnoh come into play.
And that could be a big card to disrupt Christian here. That
Yeah.
does turn off that speed lightning energy. It now is only
It's just
providing
colorless.
a colorless energy. Now needs to find a lightning energy, and he's just discarded one to concealed cards on the last turn. He only has one other basic lightning in the deck.
Training court's bumped.
And he's down that one training court,
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely. So we're going to have to see. And I mean, honestly, the hand as well for Christian is not that big. It's only a couple of cards here, and I don't think there's any draw cards in there. So maybe relying pretty heavily on a good top deck potentially for Christian here. Tides could turn real quick. Of course, things are still progressing here on Shuto's board. We have 2 evolutions into those Hisuian Gudra V-Stars. The manual attach on to that Hisuian Gudra.
Looking for some help off the prize.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's that Raikou. It's not going to be helpful here. Boss's Orders stall might be the best play here for Christian. It looks like it is, and this will likely just be a pass.
There we go.
And that is exactly what Itagaki wanted to do with the Temple of Sinnoh. It slowed
Slow
Christian
things
down.
down.
Yes, exactly. Prevented that attack this turn. And now with this massive book of cards in hand, Itagaki is certainly going to be able to play some Mirage Gates, play some switches, do all kinds of things, basically whatever they want this turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, you know, you really have to make every single perfect move with Vikavolt, because as soon as you slip up and let your opponent play down those cards, they have a giant hand stacked up and they can just pop off in whatever way they can. And unfortunately, that's the way things happened. But, I mean, Itagaki just handled that perfectly, honestly. That response was fantastic, and it played out exactly how they wanted it to go. So here we go. We are going to see that Mirage Gate. You know, and honestly, the board state as well on Shuto's side, there's now 2 Gudras fully set up.
Yep.
Temple of Sinnoh still in play. You know, Radiant Greninja's out. I mean, things are just going swell. Look at that Lost Zone as well.
The one thing I think Itagaki would like to have this turn would be the Galarian Zigzagoon. It would allow him to get a one-hit knockout on the Vikavolt this turn.
Yes.
I don't think I see a quick ball in the hand, so it can be okay to just go for that Rolling Iron this turn, still deal the 200 damage, and then next turn, if you can dig to find that Zigzagoon, you can kind of do the same thing that Christian tries to do to your deck with the Comphase.
All right, so we did see the top deck of the Cross Switcher, which makes 2 in hand now for Christian. But I don't think there's really much else in hand.
It's going to be Cross Switcher and bring up his own Mew, most likely. Go for that Mysterious Tail.
Yeah, that's going to be
for
crucial.
Some help.
Let's see if we can find anything here.
It's just a Scoop Up Net is the only option here.
Yeah, only being able to take an item card off of that.
There is another Scoop Up Net in the hand, so we could see Christian go for another Mew, but I think he sees the writing on the wall. There's not even really an item card that he could draw that would help him in this spot, especially with 2 quick balls in the prizes. Christian's going to concede this one, and we're going to game 2.
Woo, that was a fantastic game 1 to watch, though. I mean,
really back and forth.
Yeah, I was about to say it went pretty quick, and the first turns were so strong for both players, but you can really see how things can just start to fizzle out. If things don't work your way, the cards aren't drawn. I mean, like I said, Christian had a pretty slim hand, and always having to rely on that top deck, it's just unfortunate. So we'll see if things play a little bit more in his favor going into this round 2.
And you can see how this matchup can be close. I would call it slightly favored for the Gudra player, maybe 55-45, 60-40, something along those lines. Vikavolt definitely can win, but it is a bit of an uphill battle. You need things to kind of fall correctly for you. You need those item lock turns to be massive. Christian just had to use the training court maybe at the wrong time, had to go fetch out a lightning energy at the wrong time, and one thing led to another. All of a sudden, Christian isn't able to attack with the Paralyzing Bolt, and that's the only opening Itagaki needed in order to capitalize, get a couple of Mirage Gates played, and with 2 Gudras set up, Christian saw the writing on the wall, and I think wisely chose to concede there to move on to second game, hopefully win this one, and then try to have plenty of time for game 3 in his mind.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some very skillful concessions from our players all day today, because they're very familiar with the clock. They're familiar with how much time they need to get going, and when they are just too far behind. So that is that's awesome. Our players are sitting up here. We're going to jump into these prize cards as well. I'm curious, Chip, what do you think about the decision to choose Vikavolt going into this international championship?
Vikavolt is incredibly strong for this event. Ooh, Radiant Greninja in the prizes for Christian. A couple of Scoop Up Nets as well is less than ideal. Nothing too bad on Itagaki's side, but yeah, back to your question about Vikavolt for this event. I think it can be incredibly strong. It's just kind of one of those decks that it has to hit the right matchups, and you really have to draw extremely well with the deck. It's kind of got to be one of those decks that it needs to be your day to get the win. But oh no, a start from Itagaki is not very strong. Just a Temple of Sinnoh in play and attached to the Cramorant and pass. Christian did choose to go second. That means he's going for the turn 1 Paralyzing Bolt.
Here we go. So maybe things are going to change here for Christian. We'll have to see how this plays out. But yep, as Chip just mentioned, Shuto started off there. Now we're on Christian's turn here. And there we go. The quick ball already discarding that energy into the discard pile and going straight for that luminous sign on the Luminion to get that Melanie.
And I'm pretty sure there is a Vikavolt already in the hand. So the one thing Christian's going to be missing here is a Lightning Energy and a way to get the Mew out of the active spot. And let's not forget, Christian could definitely just win the game this turn. Paralyzing Bolt would be dealing 100 damage right now to the Cramorant, but if he can find either that Zapdos or Galarian Zigzagoon, he would be able to get the knockout and the win. It's a lot to hit, though. Let's see if he can do it. Ultra Ball might help him.
Oh, here we go. So this is the Mysterious Tail there. So having to draw an item card off of the top 6 cards of the deck. Here we go. There's that Ultra Ball, having to discard 2 cards there to search out any Pokemon from the deck, of course.
Yeah, maybe we're going to be seeing a Crobat V potentially here. Try to dig a little bit more, draw some cards. Doesn't have a Lightning Energy in the hand just yet. Otherwise, this Ultra Ball could just get that, you know, the Zigzagoon or the Zapdos, one of those things, potentially.
Yes, and we did already see the Melanie as well, right? That's how the water, so, of course, Melanie does allow you to draw 3 cards as well after you attach the energy, but I didn't get to see what those cards were, but here we go. Zapdos being drawn out, another Mew coming down onto the bench, and there we go. That's the scoop up net.
Yep, and Crobat is actually already in the hand. So the one thing Christian is going to be missing here, off this Crobat for 4, needs to find a switch card and a Lightning Energy. There's the Air Balloon, that's a switch, needs a Lightning, doesn't hit it just yet. Yeah, Shoes can let him get through the deck a little bit quicker. Is going to wisely choose to thin here, though. Use that Quick Ball, fetch something else out of the deck here.
Oh, and look, it was like right on top there too, Chip. Yep, that is how it happens sometimes. So yeah, no, definitely thinning through this is so important for this deck because I think things can get quite clunky when you play Vikavolt. So making sure that you have the most optimal draws and sequencing correctly is so important for this deck especially.
Trekking Shoes, once again, only needing a Lightning Energy here. Discards the Vikavolt, finds a Water Energy.
Not the correct one.
Not yet. Mew could find potentially a Energy Search. I don't see one yet. It looks like there is a Trekking Shoes, but we'll choose to go for the Scoop Up Net instead. Get another access to one more Mysterious Tail with the Mew. A more searching for the Energy Search here.
Yep. I mean, when you're in this point and you can just take the win, you're going to dig as far as you can go right now. That is for sure. So here we go. Another Mysterious Tail. We need to see that Energy Search.
Oh, there's a training court that doesn't quite.
Yeah.
That's a way to find energy generally, but not at this point with no Lightnings in the discard pile. And Christian, kind of frustratingly shuffling the hand here, knows that that's a bit of a miss. If he had at least found a switch card here as well, if he could have found maybe Escape Rope or Scoop Up Net, something like that, he could have used that Mew one more time to continue to dig. But as it stands, it's going to just have to be a grab of the Cross Switcher, and I think this is a big miss from Christian. Can look one more time with Mysterious Tail, but he's not going to be able to find both an Energy Search and a switching card now.
Absolutely. So here we go. Going in with the Mysterious Tail. And you got to think, too, well, there's tons of energies there, Chip. But
can't grab those off the Mew.
Yes, exactly.
He wishes, though. He wishes.
I know. It's so rough to see it and be like, oh, it's so close, yet so far. But, yeah, no, just to point out as well, you know, if you lose the first game, you get to choose whether you go first or second in the next game. Christian opting to go second because it's so powerful.
Oh, Itagaki has nothing. Draw and pass right back over to Christian. Oh, Christian can smell the end of this game.
I was about to say, what just happened here?
Draw and pass.
Oh my gosh. It happened too quick.
Quick Ball's going to thin once again, getting rid of that Drapion.
Oh,
of course, that Temple of Sinnoh is in play, so Christian will have to draw into his training court if he wants to use a Speed Lightning Energy, or, of course, find the Energy Search to get a basic Lightning.
Oh, my gosh. I haven't even gotten to look at Itagaki's hand.
That's just nothing. It's like Roxanne, Boss.
It's just nothing. No playable cards at all. So Christian really just getting an extra chance here, maybe getting bailed out.
So Christian does
Two
find the
full turns.
energy search here, but also finds a switch. And I think he needs both of those cards, so we'll see him choose to grab the switch, because now he can switch into his other Mew, use Mysterious Tail once again, and we're in the same spot. We are looking for that energy search.
Energy search.
Only thing he can find
There
here,
we
and he
go,
does
it's
hit
there.
it, yes.
Energy search, of course, that air balloon is already on that Mew, which is going to allow for the hard retreat. That Vikavolt is going to take down that Cramorant that is weak to electric Pokemon. And we're going to a game 3, Jeff.
We are going to a game 3. Feels real bad for Itagaki. You don't ever love to get a win that way. You want to have some competitive games, but if you're Christian, you're definitely just sitting there thinking, we take those.
Oh, absolutely. The cards don't go your way in round 1, but then they just kind of go your way in round 2 as far as just not going your opponent's way in that case. But yeah, well, this is going to be really interesting going into this round 3. Bar, we don't see any sort of wild prize cards and pretty good turn 1 setups, Chip. What do you think do you think there's any strategy that's going to be adapted for either of these players as far as initial turn?
I'm kind of interested to see if Itagaki now in game 3 chooses to go first or second. Of course, Christian chose to go second. He wants to go for that turn 1 paralyzing bolt. Yeah, get the Melanie, get the energy. So Itagaki could choose to go second. It's actually not too bad for the Gudra deck because you get an opportunity to, you know, find Course's Experiment, maybe get a hit off with a Cramorant. You can maybe sneak in a free prize on something like a Mew if Christian does start one. So there's a lot of play here for Itagaki choosing to go second. But at the same time, I can also understand wanting to go first, right? Try to use some Comp Phase on turn 1. Try to get some energy established onto a Gudra. So if you do get turn 1 item locked, you're at least one more turn closer to trying to get those 3 energies onto a Hisuian Gudra V-Star.
Absolutely, and you have to decide whether you go first or second before you see your cards, of course. So it's not like you can really rely on that to say, okay, is this a good first or second turn? So that decision has to be made here. We'll see what Shuto decides to do going into this game 3. Do I want to hinder the opponent a little bit? I think both of these players just mulligans. So, of course, if they do not have a basic Pokemon to start, then they have to reshuffle up and draw another 7 cards until they do get a basic Pokemon. And usually, if you mulligan and your opponent does not, you give your opponent an extra card to draw for the turn. But I believe both these players mulligan, so it's even field right now.
Even field, no extra cards drawn for either of them. They'll both need to be finding a basic here so we can get this game 3 underway. Still around 30 minutes left in the round, by the way.
Yeah, lots of time.
Plenty of time for a game 3 to play out. It does feel like a matchup that can be a little fast-paced, though.
Oh, yeah, I suppose, depending on how it turns up. Here we go, looking at the prize cards here.
Nothing too terrible. The one Ditto V for Christian is not super relevant in this matchup. Once again, another Roxanne. I think Itagaki has prized a Roxanne in all of his games.
Yeah,
and it looks like Christian is starting off turn 1, did go first here. So that means Itagaki chose to go second, but Christian is starting with that Hisuian Heavy Ball.
I was about to say, the prize cards were just picked up, but it's because the Hisuian Heavy Ball was just played. So let's get into this match now. Of course, that Hisuian Heavy Ball allows you to look at all your prize cards, take out a basic Pokemon if it's in the prize cards, put it into your hand, replace it with the Hisuian Heavy Ball, and then reshuffle those up. And now we're jumping in with an energy search, what Christian wanted to see turn 1 on the last game here. But now we're seeing it here, going for that lightning energy this time with that energy search. Of course, starting Mew is always phenomenal for this deck, pretty much your best starter for this deck.
Absolutely. And Christian is choosing to play 4 copies of the Mew. I mean, if we look back at Gibby Archer Tang's version of the deck, I think he only had 2 or 3 copies of the Mew and opted for the 2 copies of Battle VIP Pass in his deck. Now we see Christian playing no VIP Pass, but increasing the number of Mew.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. Gives you a lot less clunky starts, that's for sure. All right, so we are going to see this quick ball discarding that Aerodactyl V that we've already mentioned isn't super relevant in this matchup, and just going straight for that Vikavolt V, trying to establish as much on the board state as possible here.
So Christian does have a Speed Lightning in hand, but also has a Basic Lightning Energy, and did choose to grab the Basic Lightning Energy off of the Energy Search, and I think that's a heads-up play from Christian after he got kind of punished by that Temple of Sinnoh in game number 1. He knows he wants to make sure he has access to that Basic Lightning.
Yeah, I definitely think that's for sure a good call. So here we go. Yep, we're just going to see that Speed Energy, drawing those +2 cards, and then passing right back over to Itagaki now. Starting off with that Battle VIP pass, you love to see it. So getting 2 Pokemon, basic Pokemon from your deck and putting them straight onto your bench here. So it's going to really allow Shuto to just set up this turn 1 bench.
Yeah, and this is maybe the ideal scenario for Shuto. Of course, Christian did leave a Mew in the active, so it's reasonable that you could reach for a turn 1 prize with that Cramorant that spit innocently. It was not in the prize cards. Of course, Itagaki does only play the 1 copy of Cramorant, as has become pretty common in these Gudra decks these days. But with the Battle VIP Pass, does grab Radiant Greninja and Comfey, a pretty common pair to see off of Battle VIP Pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chip, I think you're right about Shuto just feeling comfortable enough in a turn 2 here. Of course, Shuto does have access to play a supporter for this turn because they're going second. So if we see that Colress, that's going to be pretty huge.
Yeah, Colress is going to be one of the main things Itagaki is looking for here. We do see another scoop up net being drawn, so we can just continue to see this chain of Comfey after Comfey after Comfey, trying to get the flower selecting, trying to get through the deck. And there is also a world where we could see a turn 1 Mirage Gate. That's a little less likely, but you know, if you get enough switching cards with this deck,
I'd love to see it.
You could make it happen. And if you could play Mirage Gate before a Paralyzing Bolt came down, that would put you into an excellent position.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, yeah, Lost Zone is ticking up there. 3 cards in the Lost Zone. Of course, Mirage Gate having to be activated on 7 in the Lost Zone. But yeah, Shuto has a huge hand here still. We're going to see an Escape Rope, another switching card, of course, with Escape Rope. Christian also promotes a Pokemon on their side as well.
Tough call here off of this flower selecting. Does see a Boss's Orders and a Battle VIP Pass. So the choice here has to be, do I continue to set up, get a couple more Pokemon, or do I lose my other Boss's Orders because one has already had to hit the Lost Zone?
That is a tough decision for sure. And you have to think about late game, what is going to be helping me more, the initial setup or the card that could probably clutch the game. And being in a game 3, that's a tough decision, but the Boss's Order is going to be chosen there.
And I think made the decision to get rid of that Battle VIP Pass, knowing that there was a couple Gudra hanging around in the hand already.
Oh, yeah,
But that does mean there will not be a Cramorant this turn, so no extra prize here. And honestly, this hand is looking kind of weak from Itagaki. We've not seen a Chorus's Experiment and does have 2 Boss's Orders in the hand. So 1 in the Lost Zone, 2 more in the hand, does play the 3 copies. And Boss will bring up the Vikavolt. I think Itagaki knows that that Lightning's in hand, of course, saw the Energy Search, so knows that a Paralyzing Bolt can get pulled off here, but trying to limit the access to Mew from Christian, I think, is smart.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, so we're over here on Christian's side. That energy is going to be manually attached here to the Vikavolt, and we're just going to see that damage onto the Comfey.
Yep, not much going here for Christian, just a draw and a hit, but he's actually got a pretty solid turn lined up. He's got double cross switcher in hand, he's got scoop up net and Galarian Zigzagoon, so we could see him get a knockout on this Comfey. We could see him move into the Mew, try to find some more cards, and could be a solid turn for sure.
Yep, but Paralyzing Bolt locks things up here, so wow, we're just going to see the pass back over to Christian's side now. Attaching water energy onto that Mew, of course, giving the potential pivots in the future. Setting up that preparation is very important. Ooh, cross switchers and a scoop up in the hand too.
Yeah, and this is an interesting choice. We'll choose to bring up the Comfey, and now Christian can get a double knockout potentially this turn. Uses the Mysterious Tail, and I think is looking for a way to get the Zapdos, and Quick Ball is going to be able to pull that off. Does have to debate what is worth losing here, though, the Lumineon or the Judge.
Yeah, and it's going to be a Quick Ball discarding the Lumineon there, searching through the deck for a basic Pokemon. As we said, that Zapdos is so crucial for this deck, boosting up your damage.
And Christian is actually going to choose to not go with the Zigzagoon here. Does have Zigzagoon and Scoop Up Net in hand, but is going to hold off for now. Also is holding on to a Judge in the hand as well. Didn't want to play it in this position, though. Knows that Itagaki doesn't have too much going on. Is going to allow Itagaki to get another turn of flower selecting here. But if Christian can play the Judge next turn and knock out both Comfeys potentially, that's going to put him in an excellent spot, especially if he combines it with that Judge.
Absolutely. So here we go. Grinded through with these flower selectings. We now have 6 in the Lost Zone.
this is exactly how Christian wants this game to go, right? He wants to
Yeah.
slow it down, wants to get some damage on a couple of Comfeys. And ooh, we do see that boss's orders onto the Zapdos. Definitely an annoying thing for Christian to try to deal with. Now he'll have to use the Scoop Up Net in hand, most likely,
Yep.
to move it out of the active, as opposed to getting 2 uses out of his Zigzagoon.
Absolutely. I mean, but Shuto's just been handling that very well as far as I'm going to stall you as much as I can and make you go through as many obstacles and burn as many resources as possible if I'm not able to play anything and have to manually attach and set up very slowly as well. So luckily, Christian did already have that pivot option onto that Mew with that water energy. So we're going to see a Mysterious Tail here going for another item card off the top 6, opting for that Trekking Shoes from the Mysterious Tail. So going to be able to look at the top card, and you can either keep it or discard it and choose the other card if you want it.
Yeah, I wonder what Christian is digging for in this spot. Another Vikavolt is definitely something you don't want to lose, so
Nope.
he'll choose to hang on to that, especially considering that Ditto V is in the prizes, and it
Here we
will just be
go.
that Judge being played.
Yep, so very fun card that's kind of joined into our format recently, of course, kind of popularized in the Mew VMAX decks as well,
Right.
as opposed to Marnie, which shuffles your hand, puts it at the bottom. Judge is going to have both of these players shuffle both of their hands into their decks, and then they each draw 4 cards. So the cards that were in your hand are now back randomized into your deck. So you might still have access to them as opposed to what we usually see with the Marnie when they're all on the bottom.
Not too much going on in this hand for Christian. Will still be able to retreat, take the knockout onto that Comfey, going down to 4 prizes remaining. Of course, Itagaki
Yep.
is still item locked, cannot play those Mirage Gates. As we see, one is just going to get sent to
Yeah,
the Lost Zone
exactly.
right away. It's pretty useless.
And that is unfortunate because that is definitely not a useless card, of course, when it is able to be played. But yeah, not in this scenario at all, Chip, that is for sure. We actually haven't even seen an evolution
No.
into that Hisuian Gudra V-Star either. And I mean, that's not going to be something you're able to do if it's not in hand and you have no way to search it out of your deck either. So Christian just kind of running away here with this game. Trekking Shoes into another Trekking Shoes into, I believe, what was a Scoop Up Net off of that second Trekking Shoes.
Yeah, Christian could retreat his Vikavolt here with the Air Balloon go into a Mew, use Mysterious Tail, but looks like he will choose not to do that. Play it slow here. Wants to save the Scoop Up Net to KO this Comfey next turn.
Ooh, it's getting exciting here. Shuto at least able to play a Colress's Experiment.
Looking for a V-Star, but I don't see it.
So close yet so far. So, of course, 3 of those cards from the Colress's Experiment are going to go to hand. 2 of them are going to have to hit that Lost Zone, adding up to 10 cards now in the Lost Zone, which is unfortunate when you're not able to utilize the reason you want to get them into the Lost Zone. But here we go, concealed cards, drawing another 2, stacking Shuto's hand up with so many cards here, Chip.
But still no Gudra. Was able to find a Colress for the next turn, and Christian is down the Judge, and I do believe is only playing the 1 copy. That is typical in these Vikavolt lists.
All right, we're back over on Christian's side. Christian remaining calm, composed, and still just rolling on with this game here. We have the Radiant Greninja that is going to discard the Fighting Energy into another 2 cards.
And the game is set up pretty nicely here for Christian. He'll be able to take 1 prize on this Comfey, and he's got options as far as how he wants to try to close this game out. He can do it by KOing a Greninja and then KOing a Hisuian Gudra V-Star or V, or he also has the option to potentially, at 3 prize cards, try to set up for a Sky Sealstone play.
Oh, look at that. The Galarian Zigzagoon being scooped up, replayed down to knock out that Comfey that was in the active position, and it is still on Christian's turn.
Yeah, a really pretty dominating spot right now for Christian. He's super far ahead.
Take another prize card off that as well.
But it feels like if Itagaki can just get off an attack, this game is going to, you know, slow down a lot. Of course, Paralyzing Bolt does not do any damage at all to a Gudra that just used the Rolling Iron.
Oh, yeah. Exactly, and that's really what Shuto wants to start seeing here.
There's
and
the
oh,
V-Star.
there is the V-Star at least off of this Colress's Experiment.
And also finds an energy, which is going to allow Itagaki to move this Greninja out of the active spot. So honestly, probably the 2 best cards that he wanted to see off of that Colress's Experiment.
Absolutely. All right, so we will start to see, like you said, Chip, are things going to start to slow down now? Because as we say, every time we see Hisuian Gudra, once that rolling iron.
Oh, and the Zigzagoon too. That will allow Itagaki to actually knock out this Vikavolt.
Oh my gosh, that was absolutely huge, Chip.
Does
Taking
have,
2 prize cards off of that Vikavolt.
looks like Christian does have another Vikavolt in the hand, but I don't see a Melanie just yet. Is going to have to use Radiant Greninja to try to find one, maybe.
Did use the Melanie last turn, but of course it was to attach to the active Vikavolt, so I don't even know how many Melanies were even down here on Christian's side either. We are going to see the bump of that Temple of Sinnoh. Training Court's going to come into play. Vikavolt does hit the bench here. Ooh, Speed Energy, drawing 2 more.
Oh, and it comes down to
Melody.
the Melanie draw off of the Speed Lightning. Same thing that happened in game number 1 for Christian.
The Speed Lightning Energy coming in clutch for Christian, that's for sure.
And the boss's orders grab is interesting here as well. Could open up a play to go for like a rope plus boss play potentially in the future. So that's something that he's going to be happy to see holding onto in his hand. Something to note, though, is Christian is now at 3 prize cards remaining, which does open up Itagaki to play a Roxanne in a coming turn.
Yeah, and that could be debilitating, honestly, for Christian, depending on what the board state is looking like. Of course, at least we have the Air Balloon on the Mew. There, the Radiant Greninja is in play, so there are options to still draw through. But, I mean, Roxanne is never fun to have to go through as a Pokemon player, that's for sure.
So Scoop Up Net is found. That can use the Zigzagoon in order to get the KO on Greninja if Christian wants it. And that is the question, I think, here. Does Christian even want that, or does he want to save the Scoop Up Net resource to potentially move something like this Mew from the active?
Yeah, that is very true. And we're going to see another Mysterious Tail here. Cross Switcher being drawn off of it. Of course, only being able to draw an item card here.
And I think this is going to be really strong for Christian. I think he found what he was looking for in that second Cross Switcher. Zigzagoon takes out this Greninja, and if he plays the double Cross Switcher and brings up that massive 3 retreat, Hisuian Gudra V uses Paralyzing Bolt. Next turn, all he needs to do is use Super Zap Cannon to close out the game.
Absolutely.
And I don't think Itagaki can get this Gudra out of the active spot here.
Yep, item cards are locked now thanks to that Paralyzing Bolt, and things have just not gone well,
This is the checkmate play from Christian.
That was huge.
Itagaki can prevent Christian from winning next turn if he puts the Temple of Sinnoh in play. Super Zap Cannon does need 2 lightning energies, so Itagaki can at least try to slow things down, but I don't think that there's even an energy in hand. Of course, I guess he can use the Training Court to get 1 more energy, but is there even enough energy to in the deck to power up a second Gudra is the question before the Vikavolt is able to take it down.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely a difficult position here for Shuto to be in, so let's see what is going to be drawn here off of this Colress's Experiment. Putting that switch and the Drapion into the last zone.
Does find that Hisuian Gudra V-Star, which is massive, and wisely remembering to use the Training Court before bumping it with the incoming Temple of Sinnoh, which I am totally expecting to see here. But yeah, I mean, Itagaki needed to find the Gudra, needs to start powering it up manually, and is also going to need to use Moisture Star, that V-Star power,
absolutely,
in the next couple turns.
Most definitely, but we are going to see at least that Temple of Sinnoh, like you said, Chip, slowing things down on Christian's side. Christian's hand, though, is pretty stacked, I must say. We already have that electric energy coming down here.
All there is for him to do, draw, attack, and then is back over to Itagaki.
Just continuing to lock those item cards on Itagaki's side. Let's see if Itagaki can get around this, but unfortunately just not winning as far as the prize race goes. Oh, here we go, Roxanne, Chip. Can this turn the tides enough for Shuto?
Yes, trying to limit Christian, doesn't want him to have access to that second basic lightning energy, needs the basic lightning energy, the second one, the only other one I believe remaining in the deck in order to win with the Super Zap Cannon. I do expect we'll see Itagaki go for that Moisture Star here. But something else here, off this Roxanne, Itagaki is going to get 6 cards, but needs to find an energy to attack with Rolling Iron next turn.
Oof, this is tough. So we are going to see... Oh, do you see it, Tim?
I don't see an energy card, and Itagaki has gone through so many. So there's so many capture energies that have been discarded to concealed cards. I don't know. I mean, I'm wondering at this point, is there even another energy left in the deck?
Yeah, there's been a lot that have been burned through. Oh my gosh, Christian just nodding right now. Of course, only being able to draw into 2 cards, whereas Itagaki gets 6 off of that Roxanne. We're going to see the top deck here for Christian. I didn't get to see the hand here. Oh no!
Yeah,
It's
no
a
energy.
boss, the Ditto, and a Mew.
Yeah, does have boss if he needs to try to stall something like that Galarian Zigzagoon. That may be one of his better plays at this point. And all Itagaki can do is play the second Roxanne, it looks like. We're going to spin the wheel again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, got to do what you got to do, I suppose. I mean, it's probably unfortunate after seeing your opponent shaking their head no, like, oh, this hand is probably very bad. But hey, when you need your cards, you got to prioritize that. That's for sure. So we're going to see this Roxanne. Shuto's going to get another 6 cards. Christian only having 2 off of the Roxanne. Let's see how this plays out. Is this going to come down to the cards, Chip?
Absolutely. This has been a battle of attrition, a war of the resources.
Yeah, for sure.
If Itagaki has just 1 energy remaining in the deck, he can get off the attack, use the Rolling Iron, needs to draw it here off Roxanne. And no, I do not see it from these 6.
Oh, just the pass over to Christian now. We're going to see the switch into that Mew that already has the pivot option as well, to another Mysterious Sail. I didn't get to see what those 2 cards were, but at least Christian has options here to dig through the deck still.
Looks like 2 energy search already in the discard pile, so won't be able to find the lightning energy that way. Yeah, escape rope could be played here. And a lightning energy does not win the game for Christian either. That would allow his Vikavolt Super Sap Cannon to deal 200 damage, putting that Goodra just 10 HP away from being KO'd. So it's really an interesting spot here from Christian. We can see this Sky Seal Stone kind of clogging up his hand. It would be so nice if it was a Forest Seal Stone right now.
Oh, yeah. Mistakes maybe were made. We will see. I mean, I guess we'll see what is more valuable at the end of the day after Christian's many rounds of Pokemon, that is for sure.
Itagaki has a Luminion V in the hand, but I don't actually even know if there is a supporter in the deck, and we'll just choose to pass. Christian doesn't have an energy, can't dig any longer, it just has to attack. Itagaki drawing, and it is not an energy card. It's a pass once again. Christian just needs a lightning, and will now use that Paralyzing Bolt once again, but now with enough damage being built up, Christian is able to Paralyzing Bolt for the KO and get a round 1 win. What a game to kick the tournament off, Boo.
Yeah, I gotta say, Tip, I'm kind of happy seeing an Australian at least take our round 1 win here. But wow, all 3 of those games, Chip, both players had such a fantastic chance in them.
And you can see what it means to Christian. He's pumped up. He's excited to get the win. Just starting off these events with a win in round 1 really does calm the nerves. It helps you settle into the tournament. You know, great play as well from Itagaki. Had an excellent sequence of events. That game 2 is super tough to look back on. There's nothing you can do about it. Part of the game, unfortunately. It's going to happen every once in a while. Itagaki is going to have to shake it off. There's a lot of Pokemon still left to be played, so I'm sure their tournament run is far from over.
I know, absolutely. I mean, that's just one thing I gotta say, though. Itagaki handled every single turn that was thrown at them almost perfectly there. I mean, you gotta think, when your whole deck is built around Mirage Gain, being able to just power up and just wall as soon as you possibly can, and you're just locked out of that completely, having to manually attach and power up these Goodra V-Stars, that's just a tough position to be in, that's for sure.
And looking back at the way that game ended up at the end, you have to kind of wonder if Itagaki should not have put the second Goodra V into play, or maybe held on to some energies if he was going to put it in play, right? Because ran out of energies there in the game. At the end of the game, I'm not actually even sure if there was an energy left in the deck for him to draw off of the Roxanne. And if that's the case, maybe just 1 more should have been kept, or maybe that Goodra shouldn't have come down at all. But regardless, Christian is able to capitalize on that, found exactly what he needed, using the cross switchers, bringing it up, Paralyzing Bolt, recognizing, hey, if I bring this Pokemon up, it's big, 3 retreat, and my opponent may not be able to move it from the active.
No, absolutely. And I think that's where this deck really shines. You know, it's kind of been joked